How will the Houston Texans go about surviving the Christian Harris injury? It's pretty simple. There's a three-step plan. I'll let you in on that, and we'll assess exactly how we got to this situation with Christian Harris. This video powered by my friends at BetUS, a 125% bonus on your first three deposits, up to $2,000 at the link in the description down below. So Christian Harris is on short-term IR for the Houston Texans, meaning that he is missing at least the first 4 weeks of the season. I say at least because there's a decent chance it could be more than those first 4 weeks. Let's kind of lay out how we got here with Christian Harris. We got here with Christian Harris a couple of days before training camp got started. He was working out in the park. He was fine. He was running around with Kamari Lassiter, Jamal Hill, and some other NFL players, and they were getting a nice outside workout in a couple days before. Aaron Wilson took video of it and covered the little workout that the guys had. And then a couple of days later, July 18th, training camp starts, no Christian Harris. And he worked out a little bit and would do this and that in those days leading up to his eventual training camp debut, which was August 11th. And then he lasted all of a quarter of a practice, and he was back off the field, and we haven't seen Christian Harris and haven't seen him working out since. Aaron Wilson reporting it's a calf strain for Christian Harris. And so now Harris is down for at least those 4 weeks to start the season, but it could be longer. Think about what a calf strain keeps Christian Harris from doing. It certainly keeps him from working out. So he's going to have to not only get healthy, but then ramp up and get ready for an NFL season. And he's going to have to practice a little bit with the Texans. He's had a quarter of a practice under his belt with Aziz Al-Shaair and whoever else might be out there on the defense. So Harris is going to have to practice some before the Texans can just kind of throw him out there. Now, look, he played really well in the system at the end of last year. Maybe there's some carryover, so it's not like you're starting from scratch with him, but he's got to get some work in, and you've got to make sure that by the time you get him out there, he's not going to re-injure himself again. So I don't know that it's as simple as, oh, he's going to miss the first 4 weeks, and that's all she wrote. He's back out there. Aziz Al-Shaair, Christian Harris, exactly like we thought the linebacker room was going to be. I don't believe that's going to be the case. Think about last year when it was just something simple for Juice Scruggs. The next thing you know, it's mid-season before he found himself making his debut. I believe we're closer to a long Christian Harris absence than the short 4-week absence that is possible with the short-term IR and the ability to return first in week 5 of the NFL season. So how do you manage with Christian Harris out for however long he's going to be out? Well, step number one is the defensive line has to be really nasty, and they should be pretty darn nasty. They've got two of the best defensive ends in football in Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. And I know Harris is not necessarily a huge factor when it comes to stopping the pass. He's more of, hey, you wanted him there to help stop the run. Well, it just so happens that Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are two of the best run stoppers at the defensive end position. Last year, Danielle Hunter tied for the league lead in tackles for a loss. In Will Anderson's rookie season, he was one of the most productive players from the defensive end spot at run stop win rate from ESPN. So two really good guys there on the end, on top of two veterans in Mario Edwards and Foley Fatukasi there in the middle of the defensive line that are going to help take care of business there for the Texans. So you got to rely on Will Anderson. You got to rely on Danielle Hunter as well if you want to help replace what Christian Harris brings to the table. Harris is a key part of this defense, but he's not an essential part of the defense like Hunter and Will Anderson are. Speaking of Danielle Hunter, he had 16 and a half sacks last year. The Texans believe he could be even better in this defense, so why not make it a profitable endeavor? The BetUS predicted sack total, 10 and a half sacks. We're going to go way over on this. Use the link in the description down below. When you sign up, you get 125% bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits when you use my link in the description down below. And this one, I'm going to put a 60 burger on this one. It's just over $50 when Danielle Hunter gets to 11 or more sacks. It's nice and easy and simple to use BetUS. You'll love it. Check out that link in the description down below. And 10 and a half sacks, for Danielle Hunter when he had 16 and a half last year and he's on a better team? I mean, come on. Come on. That one seems pretty easy. I talked about how Christian Harris is a key part to the defense. He's not an essential part to the defense. And the essential part to the front seven is Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter and the guy I'm about to talk about, Aziz Al-Shaair. Aziz is the key to the linebacker room, and he's the extension of DeMeco Ryans on the field. He was fantastic last year. Fifth in the league in tackles was Aziz Al-Shaair for the Tennessee Titans, and he should be a tackling machine for the Houston Texans this year. And having a familiarity with the defense that he does, having played for DeMeco Ryans in San Francisco, and just the prowess to go out there and sniff things out. Aziz Al-Shaair would be quick to tell you, hey, I had all those tackles, but a lot of those tackles are behind the line of scrimmage for no gain or within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. And that is a super productive player on what was a bad Tennessee team last year. Now you put him on this team with a bunch of really solid players, and the potential and the roof for Al-Shaair should be incredible. He is an essential part to this defense. He's one of 4 players I would tell you are essential to this defense. Add Derek Stingley to the 2 defensive ends and Al-Shaair, and there are your 4 essential players. The rest of them can be key players, but essential. You have to have those players to have the success that you want. Now, Al-Shaair is going to have to just make up for a lot of it. He's going to have to go out there and make some plays that maybe Christian Harris would have made, but it's going to have to just lean on the veteran linebacker, and the Texans feel pretty good about him. They paid him a lot of money. He's familiar with the system. His knowledge of the system could come in handy when you're going through and trying to manage a guy like Christian Harris being out, making sure that backups or role players are in the right position within the defense. That's something else that Al-Shaair brings to the table as well. I feel like he's really, really good, a big upgrade over what Denzel Perryman and Blake Cashman brought to the table last year. And Christian Harris was solid and really good down the stretch with those guys. Imagine when he finally does get back, how good it will be with Aziz Al-Shaair. Until he's back, going to be on Al-Shaair to take care of a little bit extra there at the linebacker spot. And obviously, you got teammates that have got to pick up the absence of Christian Harris. You've got guys that have to physically replace him on the field. So Henry To'o and Jake Hansen, they have got to step up and be players that the Texans can trust on a consistent basis. Hansen and To'o are going to be the guys that get the first crack at Christian Harris's opportunities that are vacated because he's hurt right now. I would tell you that To'o is the first guy, and that's a guy that between the ears knows what to do. Physically, he looked a little limited a couple of times last year, and there was a little bit of drinking from the water hose early on for Henry To'o, but he looks like he's calmed down, has more grasp of the system. He's physically more prepared, it feels like, for the NFL life. And that's a guy that's going to get that first crack at Harris's opportunities. The guy that's also going to get some opportunities there because there's no Christian Harris is Jake Hansen. Hansen had a really solid training camp. I felt like he was in on a lot of plays for tackles for a loss in training camp practices. His coverage skills were pretty darn good. He was the first guy that I saw force Cade Stover to have a drop in practice. So Hansen's got some athleticism. He was a big-time player in college, an undrafted free agent that's hung around for a couple of years now for this Texans team. And the Texans trust him a lot. They train him at all 3 of the linebacker spots. He's one of the only guys that they do that. And DeMeco Ryans and defensive coordinator Matt Burke have talked about how they just trust Jake Hansen to go out there and do those things. And when he was in the preseason, had the green dot on his helmet, so he was calling some of those defensive plays. He was the one communicating with the defensive play callers during the preseason games. So Hansen is a guy Texans trust, and he's going to have big moments filling in for Christian Harris. So how do you survive Christian Harris? Well, you rely on the studs at defensive end. You got to trust the guy that you paid to be the general of this defense, Aziz Al-Shaair, and it's just simple. Henry To'o and Hansen, Henry and Hansen, To'o and Jake, however you want to phrase it. I'll go with Henry and Hansen. Henry and Hansen got to be ready to go and got to step up with the vacated spot of Christian Harris. And when will Harris be back? Well, hopefully it's week 5. I don't feel really bullish about that, but hopefully it's not too deep into the season before Christian Harris makes his debut, because he was fantastic down the stretch last year. And I'm excited to add him to this defense and see what the Texans can do when they get their intended starting defense out there at some point this season. What say you? Did I put together a good enough plan to survive the Christian Harris absence? Let me know in the comment section down below. On your way down there, throw me a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And, of course, check out my friends at BetUS. They got that 125% deposit bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. Talked about the Danielle Hunter over-under for his sacks earlier in the video. You can check that out. Hit the little rewind button. You can rewind and watch the whole video again if you want. And if you just want to watch the next one, hang around. The next one will show up here at the end of the video. I appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait until we talk Texans again soon.